Tennessee wins 59-3 over UConn. Homecoming on Rocky Top 2023. I'm Eric Kane alongside Brett Hubbs and Austin Price, Volquest post-game mini podcast. Austin, Tennessee did exactly what it needed to do. Get in, get out. We'll see as the days go on, but looks like relatively injury-free. You played a ton of guys. You beat up on your opponent, and you look good doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really nice way to play this type of game. I mean, I thought the first quarter you're like, oh, here we go again. And then, boom, boom. And then right at the end of the half, you get the touchdown, then the scoop and score. And, all of a sudden it was 35-3. And I'm like, okay, it's about right where it's supposed to be. And then even more lightning in the bottle to start the second half. So 3 defensive scores and then a bunch of big plays. Like Tennessee big played UConn. Not only the bust on the Ramel Keaton touchdown, but the Squirrel White. I thought Dante Thornton had a nice 23-yard catch. Jalen Wright continues to, I think you just made him mad there after that first game when you said he won't average 9 yards again, and then he just does it like every week. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. To your point, explosive plays. I've written about that since the game's been over. 83 yards, 82 yards, 60 yards. Those are 3 touchdowns, for Tennessee's offense in the first half, and I mean, it was off to the races. I thought all the way around explosive plays offensively, of course defensively with the 3 touchdowns. I mean, it was a big play type game. And again, I go back, it's what you're supposed to do against a team that we can try to be nice at all we can going into the week, but it was what it was. It was not a good football team.
No, I mean, they're a team that's, they were 1-7 coming in, and they had, played close games against some people that weren't very good, and they had played one quality opponent, in my opinion, maybe 2 if you count Boston College, but they hadn't really played a bunch of people. And Tennessee, they're a mature football team. This is not a young football team. You want to go out and play well. They did not go out and do what they did today. They didn't do against Austin Peay in week 2. That shows the growth of this football team. It starts at the quarterback position because against Austin Peay, they did everything they could to get Joe going early, and he struggled very early in that game. Today, Tennessee's offense was good. Joe didn't struggle early. Joe was again efficient. I think he's completing nearly 80% of his throws the last 3 weeks of the football season. He's playing well right now, and Tennessee's getting quality play. I mean, big plays happen because sometimes you have a bust like the Ramel Keaton play. Then you have other deals where you give a guy a chance to make a play. The throw to Squirrel White gave him a chance to go score. Yeah. If that ball's behind him, if he's got to reach high for it, then you don't give yourself a chance to make that a big play. He hit him in stride and let Squirrel do the rest with his speed. Joe's more accurate with the football right now than he's been the last 3. The last 3 weeks he's been more accurate than he was at the beginning of the year.
And Austin, you asked Joe about that in postgame. I mean, there's a clear difference in him. The last 3 games compared to the first 5 or 6 games or whatever. You can win some football games. Again, I know the opponent today wasn't great, but you can win a lot of games with this Joe Milton operating and playing as accurate, throwing the football and running the football the way he is.
Yeah, I mean, today he threw for 253 in the first half and did it super efficiently. As Hubbs just said, was on target with all his passes. Like we're throwing guys open, we're hitting them in stride, and if he continues to play this way, Tennessee can definitely win next week at Missouri in their final road test of the regular season, and they can win the game at home against Georgia in 2 weeks. Georgia's super talented, but there's nothing about them where you think, okay, there's no shot. Like there are times in the last decade where you played in Alabama or Georgia and you said, no chance.
No chance.
You're not saying that, and that's not to say that Georgia's, not going to not be the favorite to win in here because they probably will be. But at the same time, Tennessee's starting to find its footing on offense, and again, it all goes back to Joe's threat as a runner now. Joe's throwing it. With so much more accuracy. He's running the offense efficiently, and Jalen Wright in the running game is outstanding. I mean, the offense just seems to be clicking, and the defense is doing a good job of bending and not breaking.
You look at the defense, Brent. They were bending a lot, as Austin pointed out in the first half. Given I think UConn had about 200 yards total offense in the first half, whatever the case was.
It's 200.
Yeah, 200. Still only 3 points in this football game. Tennessee made some plays, and of course, creating the turnovers. You gave Judy Lawley beautiful strip there, and Tyler Barron picks it up, scoops it up, and runs for a touchdown. You have Aaron Beasley. That was the third one. He just steps in front of the pass, goes for 6, and then you had Jalen McCullough, who made a nice play as well. defense bend in the first half, did not break, created some explosive plays, and scored 3 touchdowns. I mean, that again, it's a program record. First time since 2013 it's been 2 pick sixes in a game. Really good day for the defense.
Well, I thought that they were okay early. I thought some of UConn's shifts and things gave them some issues. I mean, I'm not trying to be harsh on UConn. I don't know what Justin Jolie or Jolly. I don't know I don't know if he's a senior or if he's a junior or if he's an underclassman. The portal should be his friend because that guy can play.
Yeah.
I mean, he can play at a place better than UConn.
You know how many people said that at halftime out here, just walking around?
It was all over the board. Over the board.
I'm not trying to pick on UConn, but I mean that guy can play. Good player. They did a good job with the slant stuff early. I thought Tennessee adjusted to that in the second half. And again, it goes back to what Josh Heupel talks about every week, right? It's a line of scrimmage game. Tennessee was okay in the line of scrimmage in the first half defensively. They were much better in the line of scrimmage in the second half defensively, particularly to start the second half. Which was really good. And then this whole offensive line that, was just a collection of guys, right, that doesn't seem to get a ton of praise. Everybody keeps waiting for the next one. They don't like this guy. They don't think about this guy. They don't think this guy's very good. 275 yards on the ground again today. The reason Tennessee's where they are right now is because they're winning in the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Again, you had Jeremiah Crawford start at left tackle for John Campbell, who was there. He was available, but didn't want to play him unless in an absolute emergency. Ollie Lane at left guard. Of course, Cooper Mays at center. Spraggins at right guard. And he had Gerald Mincy for the second straight game all of a sudden that made it through the game, and I think that's key. But kind of going back to the John Campbell point, a lot of guys who were available, you didn't want to play them. Didn't want to risk anything. Jabari Small, Amari Thomas, John Campbell, because, again, it's this type of game to where you can afford to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was great to not have to play Campbell. And Tennessee's still able to, run their offense at a high level. I think it's great that Mincy, has really found his footing at right tackle. Feels like he's, even though his knee's banged up, it feels like he's, playing about as well as he has during his Tennessee career. And then again, from guard to guard, I mean, there's a lot of continuity there, and I think that goes a long way. I mean, Cooper talked about that, just kind of like how Ollie stepped up, and then Spraggs is kind of, I think, enjoying the fact that Cooper's back, and and again, Cooper said this when we was on Volquest Confidential this week, like, this is game, 5 for him? Like, I mean, thereabouts. I mean, this is like mid-season. He's feeling really good. He's kept his weight on because he didn't go through August in 1,000,000 degrees and September in 1,000,000 degrees. And now the temperature's cooled down, so he's not dropping a bunch of weight.
Yeah, but my only thing with the offensive line is I think Javonte Spraggins has to be very careful moving forward.
He does, man.
He's playing right on the cusp of getting himself into a bad situation. I get all the trash talk. I get playing through the whistle. I get playing with an attitude.
He fought a brick wall.
All those things matter to him and get him going. He's got to make sure he stays under control and doesn't get himself out of control at any point. But the continuity with that group is paying dividends. I mean, I know it's interchangeable parts and you move guys around, but they've been at their best the last 3 or 4 weeks because they played consistently as a group. It was great to get John Campbell the day off to heal up. And it was great to get a bunch of young players some snaps in there as well, not just on the offensive line, but across the board. I mean, listen, Ethan Davis has got to learn how to block. I get that. But if there's not excitement about what Ethan Davis can do in this offense, then you aren't paying attention. Because every time we've seen that guy in a scrimmage situation, and this was basically when he got in the game was a scrimmage situation, he's made plays. He did it in the spring. He did it today. That guy has a really bright future at Tennessee, and I'm going to be curious to see kind of where he is moving forward for the rest of this year and then obviously heading into next year because I think I think he can be a different type guy at tight end that Tennessee's not had.
Kind of leads me to my next point. And we wanted to see them sprinkle some youth in there and not just go complete line change. And you saw that at times. You saw Ricky Gibson get back in there in the secondary a little bit. Of course, you saw Hobbs and some of those linebackers get in there. You saw Jordan Thomas play star with the starting secondary. On the offensive front, that first series coming out of half, you basically had the one offense to a degree, but you had Nico, you had Addison Nichols at left guard. That was kind of good to see. And now that we're on it, let's talk about Nico here.
Before we go any further, Hubbard, Eric and I had this discussion. Were you surprised he only got 2 series?
No, yes, but then when you look at it, I think it was one of those things where they were wholesaling changing on the offensive line for
And they
that
didn't want to
next
get him
third
obliterated.
series. So
I get that, but
he had played really well. I don't think at that point they wanted to roll back out there with some of those other offensive linemen. I would have gone one more series. I think if they hadn't had both of the pick sixes, they would have probably gone one more series with him.
Yeah.
But I think that was probably the reasoning for that. But I thought he would have gotten at least 3 in the game, and not just the 2 series. I guess he got 2.
Yeah, you got 2. You got 2. He threw the touchdown on 1, and then when you went the line change in front of him, they punted on that 1 series, and that was a 2 series. We were joking up here in the press box, like, oh, what if they just pull him here and say, oh, good job, 2 series, and off you go. And I said, well, Austin, Gaston Moore has his helmet on, and Nico doesn't. That's what they're doing. And so, I mean, I recognize, I get that. And also, I do, in a game like this, I know a lot of people won't see it this way, but you do want to reward some of those guys to get in there, the Gaston Moores, the Navy Schuler. I get all that. I just look at it like this. In a 59-3 ball game, your quarterback of the future, who has not had any reps hardly at all year long, Austin, he got 2 series. I just think that's a waste. But
here's my thing. All right, Joe's the quarterback of record, right?
Yes.
So I mean, when Nico goes to Oklahoma next year, or what were they opening up next year? NC State and a neutral site
No,
game?
it's actually NC State's second game.
Okay, so when are they open up here?
Whatever it
Is he going to come out here and go, well, he's going to be much better because he got a 3rd series against UConn, or he got a 4th series against UConn? Now, you know, if
Joe were to get hurt next week, then maybe.
Right,
But to your point,
But here's the point that Hubbard's trying to make. Let's say he goes out there with the 3rd string offensive tackle. Wes hurt. Joe gets hurt next week, and all of a sudden it's Gaston Moore.
I get your point. Mm-hmm. My point is, if you're talking about for the future, not next week, you're talking about for the future, I don't think it means as much. Here's the other thing, too. Your backup quarterback next fall might be Gadsden Moore.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how quick Jake Merklinger is going to be ready for anything.
And you don't know if you're going to be able to. Tennessee will attempt to bring somebody in, to be an older guy.
Yeah.
But, again, who's signing up to go, yeah, I'm the backup, I'm good with that. Like, most people aren't built that way. Clemson was able to find that with Hunter Johnson and then Paul Tyson in back-to-back years, guys that wanted to be coaches, that knew they were comfortable with being the backup.
And this offense, I'm not sure Gaston Moore is not a better fit than either one of those two type scenarios.
Because he's already ingrained. He knows
tenure,
everything.
He has tenure in this offense.
Yes.
It's been in like 6 years.
So anyway, listen, as a fan, I would be sitting there going, really? 2 series? Really? That's what we're getting? If he'd have played 3 series, I went, yeah, I totally get it. If he plays 2 series, I was surprised. But at the end of the day, if you're talking about for next year, I don't think the extra series means anything. Sprained ankle next week, I don't know that 6 more plays today makes a difference against Missouri's defense versus against what he was getting at.
I agree with that.
I get all. I mean, I get my side. I get your side. I mean, it all makes sense. Like, I totally get both sides of the coin here. I just, at the end of the day, 59-3, dude got 2 series. It's like, come on. That's just. I'll leave it at that. Awesome young guy that. Or about Nico, his performance. I guess let's talk about his performance.
I thought it was terrific.
The way he moves in the pocket is going to be super exciting. Extending plays, stepping up, moving around. Thought his touchdown pass. I thought his pass to McCallum Castles was really good. Thought his touchdown pass was really neat as well. He's looking good. He's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's got a great feel. I think he's got good feet. He can get outside the pocket. He can run. He's not afraid to use his legs. Obviously, he needs to get a little bigger, which he will. But the biggest thing for me, Austin, I said this in the 2-minute drill, the biggest thing that stands out to me about him is just he has a feel in the pocket. He feels pressure, and it's subtle moves that buys him a little time. You can tell he was well coached coming out of high school because he knows a slide step here, step up here, climb the ladder a half step to buy yourself a little more room to throw the football. Little things like that, not breaking out and running for 20 yards.
Yeah.
Little things within the pocket. He's got a great feel. I'm really impressed with what he showed today.
Kept his eyes up the field.
Really good eyes.
I mean, like.
Yeah.
We call that the Bryce Young.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I thought he was fantastic.
Yeah,
Again, like, if you didn't watch today, and against UConn, they're not great, But what he was able to do, and again, was doing it with partial offensive line, first team. There was no John Campbell out there when he was out there, and I think there was one more, but he got I think guard to guard.
Nichols was out there.
Nichols was at guard, and Dane Davis was at tackle.
Oh yeah, Dane was out there.
That was the two subs they made for him in the second half.
But he still was throwing to some good tight ends and good receivers, and I think that's big, right?
Absolutely.
I continue to like what Dante Thornton's doing outside, just kind of sprinkling in. He went at 2-3 catches today. I mean, it's not much, but it's there's something there. Ramel Keaton, buddy. Ramel Keaton was 48 yards behind the secondary. I was like, if he drops this, he'll never recover.
Yes.
And luckily, it was it was a punt. It was a good throw by Joe.
Now here to your point about how many series Nico should have got, whatever. And I don't want to take anything away from Jack Jancic and Michael Brittner, but I mean, Caleb Webb. I mean, those guys could need the reps for this fall, because look, you're a sprained ankle away from those guys being big time in the lineup.
Oh
there.
yeah.
I would have got a little more out of them today, probably, even with a backup quarterback in there, as opposed to just maybe going with a bunch of other walk-ons. But again, I get it's a reward.
And you're not going to please everybody.
There's no win in that deal, right?
You want, as a coach, and those guys go out there and give you a look on scout every single day. Like, you want, this is the game, or the Austin Peay game. This is the game to do that. And so, I mean, I respect that from a coaching standpoint.
They give Missouri and Georgia the D. Williams look.
Brent was pumped about that.
I don't know that either one are going to lose multiple hours of sleep based on the D. Williams package that we've seen. I don't think that's going to change a lot of.
Heupel said he wanted to play him at Kentucky. Played him today. Do you think we'll see D. Williams again on offense?
I don't know, not with the way this offense is going right now.
Okay.
I mean, where are you going to take? Who are you going to take off the field? I mean, unless Squirrel needs to come off the field.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe something.
I mean, like a series, a package, a player or two.
The one thing that they're doing too. I mean, they're going really fast tempo wise, and I'm not sure how fast they can go with D. Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's working hard to learn it, putting in a lot of extra time after practice. I just don't know if they can go as fast as that they're going right now. And I think their tempo upgrade the last couple of weeks has been good for them.
I do too.
I think it's gotten them in a better rhythm and kept them in a better rhythm the last couple of weeks.
We'll kind of say goodbye here in a moment. I do want to point out, and we'll go back and watch the tape and everything. Austin, I thought Elijah Simmons played well today.
He did. I thought it was his best game.
He flashed. He got some hops on one to deflect the pass. He was hustling, making some backside tackles. I thought he stepped up and made some plays. Thought Karak Garland played more today than he's played in 3 years combined. Amari Thomas didn't play today. A couple of those defensive guys, even though it wasn't pretty at all times in the first half, I thought they flashed. I thought Simmons kind of led that.
Yeah, I agreed. I thought Elijah had a really nice day. I thought he showed a lot of athleticism, a lot of burst. Another guy that didn't start his season until mid-season, so kind of is fresh at this point in the season.
I think that number 10 helps with the athleticism.
But
he just looks.
He just thinks
better.
he's Squirrel. I mean, well, we got to come up with a nickname for him. If 110 is Squirrel, the other 10's got to be. I
don't know why we never got a picture of that in fall camp. I think we were all waiting on that, and we never got
those
one.
two side by side?
Yeah, that'd been awesome.
We call it Squirrel Timon and then Elijah Pumbaa.
Here's another guy that you're talking about, guys, kind of flashing a little bit. And I think maybe Tamarion McDonald might have got a little bit nicked up, and they were just being precaution because Jordan Thomas came in early. He was early in that game at a position that normally doesn't rotate very early. And I thought Jordan Thomas showed up today. I thought he was pretty good back there at star.
That's a guy you need. Like next year, you want him to be a guy.
Yeah. And I thought he looked like he had taken strides towards that.
And remember,
being that guy.
He got hurt in spring. He had no contact the entire fall camp, so he was a late arrival. That's why Will Brooks was the second safety to go in or the third safety to go in at Virginia, because guys like Jordan Thomas and Christian Charles were beat up. But don't worry, Brent. When they were rotating in corners and stars, your two safeties were still out there.
Well, I mean, you knew they would play the most snaps, but they listen. Jordan Thomas they need to find a home for him and let him get situated. And I thought he looked pretty good at star today. I thought he moved around well. I'll be curious to see him on rewatch, but I thought he was very confident in where he was supposed to be and seemed to play fast today. I thought his athleticism showed up today.
Tennessee wins 59-3 over UConn. Does exactly what it's supposed to do in a homecoming game. You win, you look good doing it, and you beat up on a not very good football team. That's what Tennessee did to UConn today. Tennessee is 7-2. Back on the road in SEC play next week, a monster game. And we'll see how this Georgia and Missouri game ends today. But that's going to be a big game either way before you come back and play Georgia in 2 weeks. So we'll continue to break this down. We'll have tons of reactionary stuff over at Volquest.com. For Brent Hubbs, Austin Price, I'm Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys for being here and listening to us. Tennessee wins 59-3.